Greetings, everyone. My name is Irina Manakovska. It's Make Your Innovations Work podcast. And today I'm very pleased to have Andreas with me on board. We're going to talk a lot about innovative ecosystem and startup ecosystem at Sweden capital, Stockholm City. And this podcast is a part of the podcast series dedicated to Future of Ukraine Innovation Summit, which is going to be held in Stockholm next week, February 15, 16. So everyone can still grab their ticket. And I will start with passing my word to Andreas so he could tell a little bit more about what he's doing and how actually the startup and innovative ecosystem in Sweden works.
Thank you so much, and great to have this talk lined up with coffee and water, and I really look forward for this conversation. So my name is Andreas Fogelqvist, and I'm Director of Business Development at a company called Stockholm Business Region. And Stockholm Business Region is the business development and destination development company of the city of Stockholm. And we have the mission to both develop the existing companies and trying to help to create the best soil for new companies to start, and of course new companies to come here and invest in Stockholm. So that's our mission, and that's what I do on a daily basis together with my team. And we as a company, we are quite small, but I have 45,000 colleagues within the city of Stockholm who every day tries to create the best possibilities for, of course, all citizens, all inhabitants, but everyone who wants to live, work, and start and develop their business here in Stockholm.
Super. While we were waiting in the breakout room, we were talking about the importance of like innovative mindset and all this stuff. And I shared an example of, and you shared a lot of examples. And I really like the quote you gave, think globally from the start. Can you please tell a little bit more? I think it's like could be a brand name for a Stockholm or Swedish innovative system, because you've done a lot. So there are educational institutions, there are research institutions, a lot of businesses are involved. How this like innovation circle or innovation ecosystem works? Who are the key stakeholders here, and what is so special for startups? If I have my startup and I'm looking for, I don't know, investors or partners or ideas, so why should I reach Sweden, not any other country?
Oh, I can talk about this a long time, but let's start in one end and then you can point me in the right direction. I think that we are so famous today, both as an innovation hub, not only in Scandinavia, but also in Europe and in the world. And it hasn't happened by itself. We have a long history in Sweden in general and Stockholm in particular to be this innovation hub, the home of the Nobel Prize. And just a short historical out, we have, we are a relative small country. We have the freedom of speech. We have the need, as you say, to think globally from the start, because the market is relative small. So you need to think as a business owner globally from the start. And we are very early in Stockholm and Sweden with fiber, an open fiber network. And we have, in different ways helped the soil for this innovation ground to emerge. So free of speech is, of course, a very important thing that helped create this innovation environment that we have. And more recently, we have this renowned and very, very, very successful startup ecosystem. We are the second, when you look at unicorns per capita, we are the second in the world after Silicon Valley. And so I think it hasn't happened by itself, but we have so many success stories. And now everyone who has succeeded wants to give back to the ones who have an idea, who wants to start their own business. So what's defining the ecosystem today is an openness. There are so many different actors, organizations. There are a lot of knowledge a lot of expertise that you can access and tap into. There's a lot of networks, scale-up programs, accelerators. And so today, that's defining Stockholm, the open climate and the willingness to give back, to create something, and the easy access, I would say, to this knowledge. So there are many success factors who has made us to the point where we are today. The academia, of course, the school system. I can mention many things, but today it's the collaboration between different organizations and with us, of course, as the city of Stockholm, who together can create this ecosystem where startups can thrive and develop their ideas.
Collaboration in the big world. Today, I had the podcast with Anna Kiefer from KTH University, and she talked a lot about like how collaboration between researchers, businesses, other participants of this innovation circle actually affects and claims. So, and are there any kind of particular areas of innovations which Stockholm or Sweden is more interested in? For example, if I have my startup, so we all have some industry specific. So what kind of innovations are mostly appreciated in Sweden or in Stockholm?
Yeah, I think that's also one thing that defines us. We highlight, innovation, and we see it as very important, essential for our development as a city, of course, both social, ecological. So we talk a lot about sustainability, and so that's a huge part of the Stockholm DNA, the sustainability part, with a lot of people and startups who want to make a difference. And I guess that one shift, we talked about Stockholm a couple of years ago as the unicorn factory, because, as I said, we're second to Silicon Valley when it comes to unicorns per capita. But the last years, we talked more about Stockholm as the home of impact. And we see so many companies who want to start their company not only to earn money and then reach 1 billion, but instead helping 1 billion people. We talk about impact startups and impact unicorns, and that's something that's really exploded in Stockholm. That's a huge part. So many impact companies and organizations who tries to help these people who wants to solve one or more of the SDGs. So that's the sustainability part is crucial. And when it comes to innovation, of course, it's our main focus just to reach the city's high set goals on sustainability. We want to be fossil free and climate carbon positive to 2030. It's really high set goals. And then we know
Very
that
ambitious.
it's very ambitious,
It's,
and it's
yeah.
important. And therefore, we need collaborations in the innovation area, both within the city, of course, but also with academia. We have great collaboration with the Stockholm University and KTH, as you mentioned before. But we also need collaboration with the business community and find ways that small startup can have their ideas into our world.
I have a question here. So I know that a lot of like big businesses, like Scania and I know Novo Nordisk, Maersk, they invest a lot in collaboration with organizations like yours or KTH or any other. But what can smaller company do here? I mean, for example, I'm running some kind of SMB, and I would love to be attached to this story, or I'd love to contribute, participate, whatever. But I'm not an innovative company. I don't have any kind of startup. So are there any collaboration? I mean, so are there any opportunities for SMB sector here, or it's only mostly about like leaders of the industry who collaborate between themselves to create this soil?
It's a great question. The industries and the large companies such as Ericsson are super important, of course, when it comes to innovation. And there they have large innovation departments on their own, and they collaborate with a lot of small companies as well. So it's a great contact point for a small company with an idea, with an innovation, to reach out to one of these companies, of course. But you can also, like, if we talk about procurement, I often, startups come to me and want to sell often bright ideas, bright innovations, but I think that it's necessary to know that we can't buy things in any way we want to. We have procurement laws to
Sure.
consider, but there are great possibilities to tap into our procurement progress in different ways. We as a city, we buy goods and services for about, I think it's about 40 billion Swedish crowns every year, and we want to have and want to invite companies and people with ideas to have dialogue with us before, during, and after in the procurement progress. So that's an invitation, and we need many more suppliers. We welcome small suppliers as well. We can help us with new innovation, new ideas. And we have this system where you, with an ID, can give
Mhm.
us tip. You can contact us and give tip, so we know what we need to buy tomorrow. So that I really want to highlight and invite everyone to come in with their ideas, so they can tap into our way to buy excellent services such as new innovations.
It's pretty unusual because a lot of like governmental company, not governmental, governmental sector, I mean governmental industry, they're closed. I mean, so you can see some kind of like an open call or I don't know tender, which is open, and you can obviously provide your solution, but there is no real communication. I mean, in most of the countries, the communication is missing. And here, what I hear from you and other participants of this podcast, that there are a lot of communication between and the government is really open, so you can provide your suggestion and you will receive some kind of feedback. It doesn't mean that it's guarantee that your service or idea would be implemented, but it's guarantee that you would be heard. I think it's a result of this open speech, freedom of speech that you mentioned at the beginning, and it's very interesting how this culture affects business and business affects culture and how it like circles around. So it's impressive, literally. And here I would like maybe to ask you, I don't know, some kind of tips. So a lot of startups from other countries, they have their own business culture. I mean, how network, which kind of qualification criteria to I don't know, keep in mind. So are there any like the tips for businesses who would like to start to operate in Sweden? How is better to establish these business connections? I mean, long small talk, short small talk. I mean, I don't know. You would need to be very precise with timing, or you can be flexible, like with people from Middle East. Or what's like this business culture background? What are the most critical things you think would be important to consider for those who would like to work with Swedish companies and Swedish sector?
Uh, yeah, everyone has their own business culture. Of course, we have as well. I think that when it comes to strictly business meetings and that kind of when you get together talking about some specific business issue, then you need to, it's super important to be on time, to follow the agenda, to be well prepared, and to keep in the time that put into the meeting. But that's one part of it. I think also it's very important to try to navigate within the ecosystem and join in the different kind of networks that are. So we both have this strict way of looking at business meeting, but we also have what's a bit cliche perhaps, but we're talking about a fika, have a coffee and a cinnamon bun culture that we also appreciate the connection in between. We appreciate to get to know each other, but that's often two different settings, two different things. So I think to be successful, you need to keep the professional, keep the agenda when it comes to business meetings, but also tap into the more loose networking and connecting within different actors and meeting people. So you get into in the second run the business meetings. Something like that. I think that's good to know. And in general, it's easy to make business in Sweden. We used to talk about a handshake is good enough. Uh, for us, of course, as a municipality, things need to be written, but in general, you can trust what people and other companies in Sweden say. That's something that I think defines Swedes and defines Stockholmers and business there in different ways.
Yeah, I think it's very important this trust word you mentioned, because sometimes people they mix this up. So if I'm strict with timing, with agenda, for some people it may seem okay. There is no space for personal connection here. I mean, like coffee and cinnamon. And it ruins this part, because this personal connection allows to establish more trust. Okay, you have shown that you're accountable, so you keep your promise, you deliver on time, but can you please show me who are you inside? Can I trust you? I mean, it's some conscious stuff, but yeah, it's both important, and it's very interesting. They both affect each other, but not in a way that, okay, if we're friends we can work together and I can I don't know, do whatever I want, and I am not accountable, I'm not committed. So you need to follow your role, or I don't know what expected from you in professional and in non-professional part, and both are important. I mostly underline this from people from my country, because for us it's pretty unusual. So we have even this Ukrainian word "pani bratstvo." I'm not sure it's possible to translate in English, but it's about that you're like, on short hand or short foot with someone, and it allows you to have some excuses, let's say so. And this is not how it works in Sweden, obviously.
No, it's a bit different, I guess. I know I often hear when I talk to foreign companies who wants to establish in Stockholm that they tend to see Stockholmers as a bit negative, that they say that, oh, we don't get so much in return where we have a meeting. They look so skeptical in so many ways. But I think that's due to in Stockholm or Sweden, we don't want to give any promises that we can't hold. So we can look a bit negative, I guess, but that's because we it don't need to be like that, but we don't want to promise anything that we can't keep in the end.
Yeah, but it's very important. I mean, when you don't understand that behind, I mean, there are a lot of cultures where you can easily give a promise, but it means nothing. And
Yeah.
it's not because this culture is bad, it's just because the way, I mean, it's some kind of like special language where you learn when you are part of this culture. So,
Yeah.
and in Stockholm, so the world means like have some kind of like gold equivalent, I think, and it's very important. And for example, if I'm running a startup, I don't know, from Eastern Europe, from Ukraine, from any other country, so, and I would like to understand how this startup ecosystem or looks or navigate, like you have mentioned. So are there any kind of like, I don't know, events, associations, organizations which I should follow to like start learning, start to build my network, and understand how basically things work in Stockholm?
There are so many great initiatives and organizations and networks. So a good way to start is to reach out to us. Of course, we can help navigate. It's a bit tricky for us as well because there are so many, as I said, great initiatives. Just here in a couple of weeks, there are so many things happening in Stockholm. We have the FinTech Week that we are a partner to, where startups and investors meet and networking due to the FinTech area. We also have upcoming the Tech Arena, which will be the largest tech event in Scandinavia, the 22nd and 23rd of February, where people come from all around the world and meeting with Swedish companies, Swedish organizations meeting the startup ecosystem, of course, but also Swedish companies in different ways. So we are a partner to the tech arena, and it's on the Swedish national arena, Friends Arena, later on in February. So there are so many things to happen, and that happens here, and you don't have to look far to be able to find networks and find places. We have a lot of co-working spaces, hubs,
Mhm.
different kind of programs. There are so many I can't mention them, but for example, we have Sting. Sting is an actor in Stockholm that's great in many ways. We are, as a city, a main partner together with the region of Stockholm and Vinnova, the official agency when it comes to innovation in Sweden. And that's one platform you can find through them knowledge network. You can try to get into one of their acceleration programs when you need to scale up your idea and so forth. So there are many ways, and we at Stockholm Business Region try to help different both investors and companies and startups, of course, to navigate within this ecosystem,
Mhm.
because we're just a part of it. We have our own programs. We have something called Startup Stockholm, who gives free advice for inhabitants here in Stockholm who wants to start their own business. That's a huge service. We help several thousands of people each year, free of cost, free of charge. We'll also have something called Stockholm Scale Up program, and that's our own acceleration program. And it's not to compete with all the programs out there, but it's finding a gap. So we are focusing on underrepresented entrepreneurs, female founders, people born in other countries, and from the outer parts, the suburbs of Stockholm. So we're have our prioritized group and try to help these startups to scale their ideas and reach out globally. So we are both an active part within the ecosystem, but of course we have a role to guide and point in the right direction and try to help, be an enabler, and try to help
Mhm.
different organizations to continue the great work. We have so many good collaborations within Stockholm that helps one and each of the startups to, when they need to raise capital or they need specific networks or have specific goals. So in the total, we have this renowned ecosystem, and we're just a part of it. And together with all these different actors, we can really make change. So Sting is one important player in Stockholm. That there are many more, of course.
Mhm.
Mm.
And you have touched this money question. Mm, what me as a founder, what should I consider when I try to look for investments from Swedish investor? Is there any specific, I mean, particular to Sweden, or is like general recommendations?
We don't have the service to matchmaking investors, but we can point in the right direction. And what we can see when it comes to direct investments in different ways, we see that the whole area around sustainability, what we call impact investments,
Mm-hmm.
that's really the way to go right now, and the way of the future. So either you're by definition an impact startup or not. It's the sustainability issue you need to take good and think about that one, and have that as a natural piece in your company from the start. So that's one important tips for the opportunity to raise capital, is to be well prepared and know what your idea can solve problem. We see both companies are looking in that direction in Sweden, and also when it comes to investments, are looking specifically for these who help shaping a better tomorrow. So that's a concrete tips.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like some not very traditional qualification criteria. I mean, obviously, you need to have product market fit, you need to have addressable market, and here you're putting a lot of attention, I think, investors as well, because it's really important on this like future state sustainability, and it's not like a buzzword. I think it what helps Stockholm to keep this high level of sustainability focus, and I think it sounds like making your sustainability goal in 2030 sounds like a possible possible deal with such kind of approach. So it's amazing, and we're almost at the end of our podcast, and here I would like to like maybe ask some, I don't know, your networking tips. So we are going to invite everyone to future of Ukraine Innovation Summit, which is going to be held in Stockholm, and you're part of this journey like me as well. So can you please give some, I don't know, networking tip for startups and companies from Ukraine, for example, who are going to participate at this summit? I mean, what they should consider, how they should to prepare, or how they should network, or they just need to be open-minded? So
I think the open-minded part is super important. I just want to say that the summit is a great initiative, and we want to support, of course, Ukraine in any way that we can, and we so welcome all Ukrainian startups to Stockholm. And a tip, of course, due to the summit, is to reach out. I've seen the program. There are so many speakers at place who have different roles within the ecosystem. So just reach out to them at hand, and prepare yourself with concrete questions. Read about the different speakers and what kind of organizations they are. It's different between them. You have Almi when you talk about financing, for an example, and so there are different roles. So prepare yourself reading about one in each role, and just be open, and ask the questions you want to ask at hand at the summit. And I'm sure that you will be guided in the right direction. And I really look forward to be there, of course, as a representative of the city. And so reach out to me as well. And I promise I don't have all the questions, but I surely know where to guide within this amazing ecosystem in Stockholm.
yeah, I think it's the main idea that to have this kind of support. I mean, what's your next move? Because obviously, innovation is a journey. So sometimes there is no beginning and no end. But you need to know what to do next. And it's, I think, in this for this particular reason, organizations like yours are very important, because they help to create this navigation, especially for not very experienced entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs from underestimated groups like female entrepreneurs. I was surprised that last year you have 40% of female founders in Sweden, and it's amazing. I mean, because women, they bring totally different idea than men, uh, and it helps to create this diversity in innovations, and to cover different kind of goals, not only like this earning money as fast as possible. So
Yeah, and
it's very
that's
important.
we're very happy about that, but it's still prioritized for us. It's not 50% yet, so we're still working on that, and we also want to that women, of course, have the same access to capital as men, and have the same access to knowledge, and same. Um, be able to start the same way as men do. But we have come far in Sweden and far in Stockholm, but we will continue to work to make it even better in any way we can.
I'm pretty sure you would succeed, and I hope some of our listeners or guests of the podcast would be happy to contribute to this good cause. So I would like to thank you, Andreas, for participating and spending this time with me. It was very interesting discussion, and a lot of ideas about like business culture and startup culture, and what kind of innovations are needed and are seeked in Stockholm and Sweden. So I would like to also thank you everyone who joined us live and going to watch us later, and invite everyone to Future of Ukraine Innovation Summit next week in Stockholm, so where you can meet Andreas, me, and other podcast guests, and a lot of marvelous speakers in person, and ask some concrete questions. So I'm pretty sure that you will receive the best possible answers, or you at least would know what's your next move. So thank you everyone. Have a great day, and see you on later.